liberty and justice for all.
Public comment?
My name's Don.
Don Catholic, sorry.
And what I want to know is there any applications for permits from the Frederick property yet?
No, no official applications.
Okay. Can you tell me how you're going to stop him?
Oh, we're gonna stop him?
Yes. I mean, you ran on it, you only ran on this to, you're going to, end this and, put a stop to it. I'd like to know how and what you're going to do.
So when I ran on, I knocked on your door and said I was gonna stop it, that's what I said?
Yeah.
Or did I say progress is coming? And while you can't stop progress, we as a community can dictate what that progress looks
Well,
like.
that is not what you said, to going around to different people from what I heard.
I can tell you, I never specifically said we could stop it.
Well, no, you didn't, but you're with him. You ran with him, so you're complicit in just what he is.
You have to bring them in when you're done. The next meeting's on the 14th.
Yeah.
Bring those folks with you and we'll talk about it, because I never said that.
Well, I can show you right in your room.
Let's see it. Come on.
I'll tell you what, I'll get it all and I'll put it right in there, because I got it all in here. So I'll see you in the 14th.
Yes, sir.
And you can have it. I suggest you get your answers.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Corral?
Hi, I'm Bill Carafa, Woodland Road. A couple times in the past, over the years, past 2-3 years maybe, complaints have come up about a property on Becker Road. Last time, I think Dave Gerlich made a complaint about people living in the mobile home or camper, whatever it is. The trash is all over the place. The vehicle shop, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a business being run there. And my concern is with all the vehicles that they're doing there and all the gas cans and oil cans and stuff that just laying around on the ground, why the zoning officer hasn't done anything yet?
Do you have an address?
Yeah, I do.
Great.
1732 Becker Road. The owners, Michael D. Francesco. And the pictures, if you'd like to see them. These are just a couple of things I have. And now that they've cut down the forestry around, that 3 parcel lot that was combined into one, and the Campos property, they did a lot of forestry in the last 2 weeks. That stands out like an eyesore. There's no reason, it's been like that for 5-6 years. We've been complaining, and it seems like for some reason the zoning officer doesn't care, or doesn't do nothing. I'd like to know why. And if he has, I'd like to know some feedback on what's going to take place. I'm concerned for contaminants getting in the ground, going to my well. That's all I have, thank you.
I'll check with him.
That's the first I heard of that. I don't know anything about that.
I'll check with him.
Public comment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Kelly Sanchez, Perkiomen Bill, Perkiomen Crossing. I have 2 questions. The first being, and it's to Lisa and Bill. You both ran on a statement that you were going to bring in Zoom options for those of us that work or have other conflicts, and we're waiting for them. So what is your plan to bring that, and when? What is your timing for that?
That was a topic at one of the previous meetings that we did in January, so we are working on
Yeah.
plans, so.
Yeah, so I've reached out to our IT people.
My question
Sorry.
with all due respect, is for Lisa and Bill.
Okay.
Thank you. So what is your timing?
It's not my timing specific, it's the Board of Supervisors timing, it's a budget and a timing with Tracy and Kate as well. It's a joint effort to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the community and getting the right tools in here to do that.
So I'm hearing no timing.
I don't
Yeah,
have
at this
exact
time.
timing yet.
Okay.
It has been brought up for discussion already in a January meeting.
Oh, I heard that January meeting, no timing was disclosed at that time, and I'm still hearing in February, no timing at this time. So that was my first question, thank
Okay.
you. My second question is, I see an agenda topic on your agenda today for Perkiomen Crossing. May I ask, is there Perkiomen Crossing HOA Board representatives here today to speak to that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
To circle back to the other, I think on the next week's agenda, do we have I thought I saw a camera on there? On for the 14th, or was it on here?
Yeah,
and you took it
I
off?
think as a draft, yeah, I do have some questions for you guys relating to the recording of meetings.
Yeah, so Ms. Sanchez, so just to get back with you, we did talk about it. I did tell you I was gonna do it. That is something that, I think everybody agreed on, we would like to see done. That is something I ran on, and I
It is.
did talk about. So we did talk about it with Ms. Tackett, and like she said, she's already in talks with the IT department, and it'll be here. As
Great.
soon as it can be on the website, it'll be here.
Myself and many of us in the community are anxiously awaiting for that, so more of us can be interactive and attend these meetings. So thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir?
Yes, I have a question about a dog constantly barking by Perkiomen, in Perkiomen Crossing. I'm sure Mr. Landman has heard the dog barking repeatedly, and I am in college and I have my studies going on, and there are times where I just can't focus because I live next door to this house and the dog just won't shut up. It just continuously barks. Sometimes I know it's not supposed to bark between, I believe, the hours of 10 and 7. However, there are definitely times where I hear that. And I do mean 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., I believe. And there are definitely days where I will hear it way after or way before those times. So, is there anything that can be done about that, or we can do about that to just, lessen that? Because, there are, I know at least myself, I have responsibilities that I need to do, and sometimes that I can't get done, I can't start on those responsibilities until late at night. And if I need to do those responsibilities and I can't focus because next door a dog's barking, which starts to annoy my dog, which causes it to bark in response, and I hear other dogs in the neighborhood just start to bark, it becomes annoying,
endless.
and it shows in my quality eventually.
Okay.
Do you have an address?
The address of the dog parking is 1225 Pine Ridge Drive.
It was previously reported to the township.
Yeah, and I think we had communicated with the person.
Hasn't
so-
stopped.
No, it has not.
What was your first name, buddy? I'm sorry.
Daniel?
Daniel.
I got a follow-up to the question about the board. If there's nobody from the board here, how can we proceed with the agenda for what's gonna happen in Perkiomen?
So
Crossing.
tonight's just a discussion on the results of a study that was there, and there's a couple options. We're investigating, how to resolve the issue. We're trying to rectify it, we're just trying to figure out what's the best way to do it.
So then, when you figure out that way, then the board comes in, or would they be part of that plan?
Can I add?
Yes, ma'am.
So I have reached out to the homeowners association, and at this point, because we have two new members of the board, I'm essentially sort of giving them the information that was already given to the HOA. And I'm actually gonna show the presentation that I gave to the HOA to them and to everyone, just to kind of get them up to speed where we are. So there's nothing new tonight, it's more just kind of trying to get them up to speed with what's happened over the last couple of years. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but there's also new HOA members as
Board
well.
members.
The board members are new too.
That's fine, that's fine. I mean, so there's nothing new though at this point, and we'll circle back to the HOA for sure.
Okay.
And I have been in communication with Jessica, I think Tomasillo or something like that. I'm not sure what her last name is, but people from the HOA I have been communicating with.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So business for the board here. Perkiomen Crossing water and sewer updates, Ms. Tackett?
So tonight I have Dan from Spot Stevens and McCoy here to talk about kind of where the status of the water project is. And then hopefully we can let him get going just because he's had a busy week of meetings, I think, and was able to come at the last minute. So just kind of his background. In September of 2021, there was a fire in Perkiomen County resulting in 4 units being uninhabitable. October 12th of 2021, there was an informational meeting with the residents at the firehouse. And at that time, the board at the time agreed to take on the study of the hydrant system. It was discussed that the hydrant system was not designed to fight a big fire. There was obviously a lot of concern about that, given that there are hydrants in the development. The hydrants work, but they just don't work at the level needed to fight significant fires.
Not true. Ours does
They
not
don't
work.
work at all.
Ours does not work.
It was my house you're talking about. They don't
Yeah,
work at all.
They don't work. Ours does not work. Look at your study. It says it.
Yeah, I can pee harder than my hydrants.
So it took us a while to find a consultant, qualified consultant to conduct the study, the hydrant study. And that was Spot Stevens and McCoy. We brought on to do the study, and it was completed in March of 2023. During the summer of 2023, the board at the time looked at some different factors to decide whether or not the township should move forward with an upgrade project to the water system. They looked at, they talked to the HOA, we looked at financial aspects of it, we talked about grant opportunities, and then the board decided to go ahead and move forward with the design of an upgrade to the hydrant system. And that upgrade will include a second water tank down next to the current water tank, a new larger water main up through the development, and then increased capacity to the hydrants so that they are capable of fighting fires. So I have Dan here. He has been working on the design of the project. And if it's okay, maybe we can just have him kind of talk about kind of where Spot Stevens and McCoy is at this point.
And I have a full-size set of drawings if it's easier for people to see them. If you don't want them in front of you since you can't see the screen. This is the overall development. And then you have zoomed in a little bit, that's down by the water plant. Okay? And then it goes up through the development. And this is all survey work. That's all it is right now, where everything is in its current place. That includes the water mains, and we have some points that are circled on here that are points of interest that we have to come back and verify. But that's throughout the whole thing. There's an invert here for a sewer line that wasn't captured, so we need to go back and catch that. And a couple other minor details. So surveys getting lined up to do that. In the meantime, I've been talking with some tank consultants and come up with a couple different options. And this might be easier for you all to see too. I don't know if Jane sent this to you or not. I thought she did.
Yeah.
If you want to put that on the screen for the public.
Are these all the same units?
This is basically a Google Earth view of down by the water plant, which matches this. And we have a couple options on the tank. We can either do a round tank or we can do a rectangle tank. But it needs to be about 150,000 gallons, long story short. Does anybody else want a copy for you? Pass them around.
So just to kind of touch on what Dan's saying, so this shows that that we did have the surveyors go out and delineate the wetlands that are out in the area so that we can get an idea of where we can do some placement of the new water tank, this was discussed with the HOA and it was shared with them. They also gave us permission to go on HOA property to do some of this wetland delineation.
Yep, and the idea is to not interfere with those wetlands. We can, but it becomes a much more long drawn out process because you have to do a lot of work with DEP and the Fish and Boat Commission and all of it. It becomes very burdensome. So we want to avoid them as much as possible. So that's what this plan kind of envisioning here. The red circle would be a circle tank and the other would be. And more than likely, one of the factors that we are looking at very closely is water age. Since you're increasing the amount of capacity, we don't want the water getting too old in the tank. As it is, it's a 150,000 gallon tank, you already have 100,000 gallons in storage. And we're going to be up around 250,000 gallons. For domestic use, you're using roughly about 50,000 gallons a day. So you have over 4 days worth of water that will be on storage. The problem is that when you have a fire, by fire code, you're supposed to have 1,500 at a minimum gallons per minute for 2 hours. So that's a lot of water that we have to store. We don't want the water getting old and having water quality issues for your potable water. So talking to one of the tank manufacturers, Dutchland Incorporated, they recommended doing a rectangle tank and then we can baffle it so the water goes through a serpentine basically. So it keeps the water fresher, keeps it moving, keeps them from getting stagnant. So that's one of it. What's too old?
Yeah.
Normally
Did
you
you
would
say
want
50,000 a day is used?
roughly, yes,
So that's 5 days worth. So it could
Approximately.
take 5 days to get to,
out to the taps in people's
yeah.
houses.
okay.
So
And that's too long?
typically that would be, and it depends on the system, how much chlorine you're feeding, there are a lot of variables there, but typically you want to keep it within 3 to 5 days. So that would be a good range. That way you don't have to overfeed chlorine chemicals, becomes expensive. So it becomes a matter of economics and also aesthetics in the water. Too much chlorine in the water, you're going to get complaints about stinky chlorine water. It smells like a pool, those types of things. So we want to try and eliminate that as much as humanly possible, right? So this is all going into the equation, if you will, of selecting the tank, selecting how it's going to be built, and all the components that go with it. So with that tank, we also have to put in a fire pump, which is a very large pump which can pump, I think we're designing at 2,000 gallons a minute, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So we're going to do more than the minimum. So we're going to do 2,000 gallons a minute for 2 hours as basically our baseline for our requirements. So you'll be able to fight a fire at 2,000 gallons a minute at more than 20 PSI coming out of the hydrant, so you don't have to worry about peeing harder than the hydrant.
Even at the top of the hill?
Even at the top of the hill, yes ma'am.
Okay.
Down at the bottom of the hill, the pressure is going to be substantially higher because of that, but we have to design to the maximum height points because that's where the maximum flow at the lowest needs to be designed.
And we have 3 non-working hydrants in the neighborhood, ours being one of them. Those will all be repaired in this process?
That is not part of what we're doing unless they're installed along the 12-inch new water main. That would be up to the township. We can include those in the project. We have not gotten that far into the project yet. This is all very, very preliminary information.
We do have one of the hydrants at the end of Glenwood scheduled for repair. It just the weather hasn't been cooperating to allow that to happen.
There's one on Pinnock, Glenwood, they don't work, and then the one on Pine Ridge has a trickle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't
Trickle.
work, that's non-working to me.
I was out and did the fire flow test. when we
So you
did
know.
them. So, yeah, some of them on the higher elevations were minimal, especially after they run for a couple minutes. Because it's the way the system is designed now, that's what it's designed to do. It has its limitations. So we are going to do everything we can to correct that.
You were saying about the higher pressures, it's, a lot higher at the bottom, down near Valley Stream, all that. Those residents down there, when I read this, didn't they have regulators put on down there
I
so
think
it doesn't
some
affect
of them.
We had talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I read that in.
It would be recommended
Right,
because the pressures down at the bottom of the hill, with having that much pressure at the top of the hill, you could cause issues inside the home. So we would recommend putting pressure reducing valves in, yes.
that's what I was gonna say, we could just regulate it that way. As we even go up to the top, we can still regulate it if it goes over too much.
I'm assuming you have a copy of the report?
I read it, yeah.
Okay. I would hope so.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wanna sit here and talk to you uneducated, you know what I mean? Try to just keep us up.
I am, why not?
Well, it says some, it doesn't say, do all the houses that would be recommended to have regulators have them? Do we know that? or-
Not on all of them, because there's a substantial elevation change in the community, like
And then
almost
the ones
100
that,
feet.
the ones that should have them do have them?
I'm
I
not
don't know
sure.
if
I
they
think
do or
only
not.
some of them may at this point. And-
We never entered the houses to do any
Okay.
inspection,
Right. So
all of
those-
ours
Oh,
was
that's at
limited
the house
outside.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are.
it would be inside where the
Yeah,
meter
so
is.
that would be some people choosing to install them.
Okay.
If they have-
I thought it was on like the main running down there, okay,
The easiest way to do it would be put it at the meter,
yeah.
which are all inside the house. So we did not go into houses, we just forewarned the residents that we were gonna be there flushing hydrants, which would cause
Gotcha.
low pressure, et cetera, for a day.
Okay.
And I hope we didn't disturb them too much when we did that.
All right. So at this point, you know, Spot Stevens McCoy has basically just kind of been doing the surveying and, you know, that aspect of it and the research. So I don't think we have any design from you guys yet,
This is
right?
all very, very preliminary.
Right.
And the tank manufacturers that we deal with will take the information and we'll design the best tank possible depending upon the circumstances. So, and then we have to work with the pump manufacturers or pump vendors and suppliers to size the pumps properly. We still have to get down here for one day and get inside the building so we can trace out all of the piping and everything inside the building. That was not part of this. Survey crews don't only work outside.
Gotcha.
Their equipment don't work too well inside.
Got it. All right, makes sense. Any more questions for Dan at this point?
And we did do a community outreach meeting.
That's
I
true.
forget exactly when it was, but we did meet with numerous people from Perkiomen.
Yeah, after the report was.
After the report was done, we laid out all the options.
Yeah, and that meeting was held over at the church
Yep.
across the street.
Yeah, I went
Yeah,
to that meeting.
okay.
There actually was, I was shocked there were so few residents
Yeah.
at that meeting.
Yeah.
It was only a handful. A
Okay.
lot of the people that were there weren't, they were residents of the township, but they weren't Perkiomen.
Oh, they weren't Perkiomen
Yeah.
Crossing, okay. I wasn't sure, I was just there talking like I am now.
Yeah, no, I know, I was present.
One thing I did read in here, and I must have left that page at home, you were talking about maintaining these pressures at,
Mhm.
for 2 hours. I read that same thing, but the way you guys had done your study was like, it was in between the times of like noon and 2:30 or something like that, or like 11 and 2:30. Would those numbers change if the residents are all home between 4 and 9, you know what I mean?
Possibly, but not a whole lot. I mean, it's peak water usage time, so
That's
that's
fine.
what we try and base our
Okay.
planning on. We try